Good morning, ladies and germs. It is the Royals Rundown podcast presented by Royals Review. My name is Jacob Milham, joined as always by my handsome co-host, Jeremy Greco. Jeremy, I have to gas you up, man. It's a Sunday morning, so we gotta get the energy up, right?
Sure, yes. By telling outright lies.
Oh my word! Listen, if you want outright lies, you can go to what is it, Yard Barker or something like
Kings
that.
of Kaufman. I mean, what? No. I'm
Wow! Wow! Rude.
You call me handsome. I call you a liar. I think that's only that makes sense. That's how that
balances out, and everything is right in the universe.
Yes. I win, you lose. Yes.
Well, listen, if you want straightforward, no lying, no handsomeness over your Kansas City Royals analysis, you can go get it at royalsreview.com. It's a whole bunch of faceless writers, so you can yell whatever you want at them in the comments.
Oh, Jacob?
Yes.
This is responding to a BB gun with a nuclear missile.
Jeremy, do you have some feelings about because we always talk about the Royals Review community and the comments and things like that. Are they a little short-sighted sometimes, it seems?
Everybody is.
It's baseball.
I tweeted last night about how a couple of weeks ago I wrote an article about how the team was really good 3 weeks ago, to be specific. And last week I wrote an article that kind of had some negative bent, but also had a lot of positive in it. And so I wrote these articles and people were like, no, the one several weeks ago really was like, no, the Royals suck. What are you talking about? I refuse. They have to be good for another month at least before I'll start loving them. And then I wrote yesterday about how the team has one very specific problem, which we're going to talk about some today, too. One very specific problem that is a problem not really for this season, but for future seasons. And I got a whole bunch of feedback that was, I don't read your stuff because you only write negative things, when I've been very, very positive about this team so far this year. I was ready to buy in, I think, much earlier than a lot of people. I'm glad everyone's buying in now. But yeah, it's a little frustrating, but it's also like par for the course that people mostly are going to comment when they disagree. So all the people who probably thought I was being too negative are the people who aren't commenting now, and vice versa.
You can never have a perfect balance in baseball, and you can never have a perfect balance in baseball writing either.
So what I'm hearing is I need to get all of the Infinity Stones and snap my fingers and bring baseball fandom into perfect balance where everyone agrees with everything I say. That's what needs to happen here.
As all things should be.
Oh no. You brought out the balanced flat object on the finger.
Oh my gosh. Call me
Thanos.
Listen, it is. We're already off the rails, and we're only a few minutes into the podcast, folks. So that should be setting the tone for you. But like I always say, if you want some more straightforward Royals analysis, go check it out at royalsreview.com. A really good team over there, putting out a lot of great products every single day. I don't think people realize like how hard that is, or how so many team specific sites will go days without a new article or without an original article. Royals Review makes it look easy. Multiple articles every single day.
We have some incredibly talented writers over at Royals Review.
Really do.
And I'm not really even talking about myself. I get by. But Matthew Lamar, tremendous. Everything he writes is a must-read for me. Even Bradford Doolittle, who I frequently disagree with, has just an excellent perspective and research on some of the historical stuff about the team. Preston Farr writes over there. We've had him on the podcast multiple times. Max Reaper, just the best editor in the business. He lets us cook. He gives us room, but he also is there to support us when we need him. Minda Haas-Kuhlman has covered the minors. Yep. She's out right now, but she's done a tremendous job with that. Also, her photography is
It's
on
amazing.
point. She photographs the storm chasers.
Yep.
So and there's other people that I'm forgetting right now, but everybody over there is just really tremendous. It's a really excellent site that I find myself incredibly proud to be a part of.
Yeah, and I feel blessed every day that this podcast gets to be a part of that family. Even if I am the trader over at Kings of Kaufman, I guess.
I have to shout out Greg as well. Greg.
Yeah.
How could I forget him? Our erstwhile podcast co-host.
Yeah, I know. Listen, Greg, if you are listening, it's no hard feelings why I haven't reached. I haven't even asked him if he wants to be on the podcast yet this season. I should probably do that.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and move into baseball. So we're going to go ahead and start off by talking about some of those lineup issues, Jeremy. That's what you were alluding to earlier on in the episode, which it's like you said, over the entire season, the Royals' offense has not been terrible. Their offensive attack has not been bad by any stretch, especially when you compare on the curve of the Kansas City Royals franchise. It's very good in that. But they're just so streaky, man. It's big innings. What'd you say?
Go ahead.
No. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm gonna change subjects. Keep going.
I'll
hit it when you're done.
Already? We're already here.
It's in the same ballpark, but keep going.
Okay. They're just so streaky. I get it. The Friday night game, for example, the box score looked great, 7-1. It looked like a dominant game. It really wasn't a dominant game. It was one dominant half inning, and the bullpen just didn't lose the game. Like that's all that really amounted to. And Jeremy, folks, MVP caliber seasons from guys like Salvador Perez and Bobby Witt Jr. and the occasional helping from the other role players. I hate to call it, but Vinny Pasquantino is performing like a role player right now. He's a little cold at the plate, if you ask me. But there's no consistent force. Like, you can't just rely on two guys being consistent in your lineup to win. And we saw that Saturday night. Even though they scored 4 runs, that was it just like Hunter Renfroe getting, like, that's not the guy that you want to rely on to score half of your runs. So, Jeremy, what were you alluding to?
So my thing is, they're streaky. Absolutely. And they've been bad for about 20-ish games now. That's the narrative that I think that we're all feeling is the offense has been bad for 20-ish games now.
Yeah.
But over that stretch, they've averaged more than 4 runs a game. Thanks in part to a lot of those, as you kind of alluded to, the really great half innings late in the game. They've done that like 3 or 4 times at least. But still, averaged more than 4 runs a game. They averaged 4 or more runs a game the entire season last year. That was their offense last year. That's their bad offense this year. Last year and the year before, they had multi-game stretches where they were shut out for multiple games in a row. This year, they've been shut out 1 time. One time they've been shut out in the first month of the season. So, this offense is not good. But the thing is, it has not been good lately. But the thing is that, this version of not good is not as bad as it has been. You can win if you score 4 runs. If your pitching's good. The pitching's been good until last night. And we could talk about Michael Wacha some more too. He has actually not been good over most of his starts this year. It's a little concerning, honestly, but we'll get to that maybe later. But the other thing, you can win if you score 4 runs, and they have won some games. I don't actually know what the record is over their last 20, but it's at least close to 500. They might have won more games than they've lost still over that stretch, which is just insane. But that's the bad version. The thing about the streakiness of the hitters is that it doesn't get worse than this. It only gets better. And we go back to a bunch of guys get hot at the same time, and they're just going to score runs like they did against the Astros and the White Sox during that 7-game stretch where they just were unstoppable. It's going to happen again. And over a 162-game season, you're going to have good stretches. You're going to have bad stretches. So would you like a little more consistency in your lineup? Yes. But it's a little bit like looking at the Chiefs winning 2 Super Bowls in a row and going, would you like some better wide receivers? Well, yeah. But you also won the Super Bowl 2 years in a row. How much can you really complain?
Yeah.
The offense is streaky, but the bullpen is nails. The starting rotation has been very good, even with Michael Wacha's struggles. And you do have, as you noted, Bobby Witt Jr. and Salvador Perez playing at MVP caliber levels. They are consistent, so it only takes 1 or 2 more guys stepping up every night. You don't need your whole lineup. You just need 1 or 2 more, and you're going places. Now, last night, the issue with the lineup, and that again, still scored 4 runs, which can win you a game when your starting pitcher and your bullpen don't combine to give up 15. You can still win that way. They still had, Michael Garcia had 2 hits. Unfortunately, between Bobby Witt Jr. and Salvador Perez, you had 2 walks. That's it. Yeah. Bobby Witt Jr. had 2 walks. But Michael Massey, who I think we're going to talk about some more here in a little bit, because he's an interesting case right now, had 3 hits. Mm-hmm. And Nelson Velasquez had a double to right field that was, I think it bounced off the wall. I can't remember if it one-hopped the wall or...
Yeah, it bounced off the wall.
So, and that's to right field, which was what he was doing when he was hot earlier, was he was hitting the ball to right field and then also pulling it occasionally for some home run power. So maybe he's about to break out. I've thought MJ Melendez was about to break out a couple of times and then he falters again. So that he could break out at any time, literally. So this is, again, a streaky offense, but it's not an offense that is bad. It's just an offense that's occasionally going to look very bad and occasionally going to look very good, which, again, I know I keep repeating myself and not stopping talking, but one more time, you can live with this rotation, with this bullpen. This is a team that can still win games even though it is flawed.
Yeah, and you know what? I think if you go back to our preseason episodes, our winter episodes, that's all we wanted from the Kansas City Royals this year. I get it. They have a winning record. They're well above 500 right now. So we're expecting them to go out and win every single game because we haven't had that feeling in a long, long time. All right. I think back to last September, and people were just coming around to that feeling when the season ended. Like, holy smokes, they actually have a chance of winning any given game. It doesn't matter who's on the mound. It doesn't matter who's in the lineup. This team is going to be competitive. And we're seeing that now to start off the season, which is a very rare thing for the Kansas City Royals. There was a little tidbit that I do want to talk about before we move on. So last night was also the first time that they've allowed double-digit runs in a game.
Oh, wow. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah.
This season.
That's how good the pitching's been.
Right.
And we talk about how inconsistent the hitting has been, and we were worried about the bullpen for a while, but it's the first time they've been blown out, the first time they gave up double-digit runs, and as inconsistent as the offense has been, again, they're an above-average offense. If you look at the statistics, you can just look at Baseball Reference, look at the team stats. The Royals are are over the average line.
That they are. At least in most of them, they're at least hovering around it. And like you said, you're going to have some fluctuations as the season goes along. If you look at the past 5 games, it's going to look different than the 5 games before it. But back to the double-digit runs thing is in previous seasons that's happened a lot earlier. If you look at 2021, it happened on April 1st. 2018, it happened on March 29th. Woo! Yeah. And but you go to the competitive Royals teams and that didn't happen until May. I get it, 2016 was not a postseason team, but they were still 500. They were 81-81, and they didn't allow double-digit runs until May 4th, like the 2024 Royals just did. Or the 2015 Royals, they didn't allow that till May 6th. So that's a good company to be in, if you ask me.
And I know as Royals fans, and we've watched the team lose for almost 10 years now again since their last World Series victory, but so it's easy to immediately go, oh, there's the other shoe. Everything is falling apart. But y'all, every good team gets blown out sometimes in baseball.
Yeah.
It happens. It's one loss.
Yep.
The trick is don't allow it to keep happening.
Right, and that's one of the old adages in sports. It's not how you lose; it's how you respond to said loss. And truthfully, it might have just been something in the air last night because I know like the Athletics blew out the Marlins 20-4. Like there were some real high scoring affairs around baseball last night. So I don't know if maybe they sent out a shipment of juiced balls or something. Rob Manfred, I'm looking at you. You trying to cover up?
Been down this year.
Yeah, it has. It has across the league. So that might be interesting to look at, see if things change. But that's just my tinfoil hat. I'm going to take that back off for a little bit. Let's talk about some of the good parts of this lineup, though, Jeremy. And I do want to start off with Michael Massey.
Yeah.
So he was pretty cold coming back from the IL. He was about as cold as he could be, but quietly he has a hitting streak of 7 games dating back to April 27th. And that's tying his career high. In that span, he's batting .400 with 4 extra base hits, 7 RBI, and scoring 6 runs himself. A really great stretch from the second baseman. Just a couple of sentences from you. What do you think he's back? Do you think he's reliable? He's batting 5th in the lineup right now, so manager Matt Quatrero obviously trusts him.
I mean, I just pulled up the line from the last 7 games over on Fangraphs. 255 WRC plus.
Woo!
Slashing 429, 455, 810 for a 543 WOBA. Which, again, the weighted on-base average is weighted such that 300 is about average. He does have a 438 BABIP, so is that sustainable? I don't know. I'd have to look at the batted ball stuff. I'm not going to dig into all that now. So I've said before the season that Michael Massey was one of the guys I was looking at as a breakout candidate. Michael Garcia, Michael Massey were my guys in the offense. I did not believe in MJ Melendez. He made me believe early on. Did not believe in Nelson Velasquez. He made me believe early on. Now I'm questioning those decisions, but I am glad that I picked Michael Garcia and Michael Massey because I know people are really down on Garcia, but he's quietly been pretty good. He had an awful road trip a couple of road trips ago. Yeah. But he's quietly been kind of coming back, not hitting for the power that he was earlier in the season, but he's getting his hits. He's getting on base, though I swear he needs to stop swinging at the first pitch he sees in every at bat. But
Eric Hosmer said it works. He said that on X. You remember that?
He needs to stop doing it. I'm ignoring Eric Hosmer. I'm sorry, Eric. I love you, but no, I don't want to engage with you on this subject. But Michael Massey batting 5th, that's what's interesting to me, is that, like, that fits this lineup right now. I said last year that, like, and I said all offseason, Michael Massey's good. You want him batting 7th. But this is what I love about how manager Matt Quatrero has been doing his lineups is he says, who's hot? You're batting higher in the order. I'm not screwing around with this. You earned this spot. You stay in this spot stuff. You're going to move in the order where you're going to help us right now. Michael Massey's the hot hitter right now. Nelson Velasquez, MJ Melendez, Hunter Renfroe, Kyle Isbell all deserve to be batting lower in the lineup than Michael Massey. They're all producing less. So yeah, get Michael Massey in there batting 5th because that way, and if Bobby Witt and Salvador Perez get on, by the way, Salvador Perez didn't get on base for the first time in a month or something like that. He had like a 30-game on base streak. Then that's what you're, instead of saying, well, Michael Massey, you bat 7th because Hunter Renfroe has to bat 5th because we signed him to be a power bat. You say, no, listen, he's not hitting. He's going to be down in the lineup. You're going to be up in the lineup because we want to bunch the hits together. And I think that's why we're seeing this kind of pay off a little bit. I know people are they were unhappy with Matt Quatrero's lineups last year, but we say, oh, these guys are streaky. Well, Matt Quatrero realizes that too. And he says, all right, the guy who's on the hot streak, he's the guy who's hitting higher in the lineup. That way we bunch the hits together instead of spreading them all out. We actually get runs from the hits.
And I think it's a pleasant surprise to see that we talk about this roster construction and like where it could be better. But one of the things that I think it succeeds in is it has good lefty-righty matchups.
Yep.
And you look around the league, and not every team has that. Not every team has a good amount of lefties and righties that they can plug in anywhere in the lineup that they need them to be. I know that sounds like a simple thing that every Major League Baseball franchise should be able to do out there, but frankly, it's not. And the Kansas City Royals have done that. And it's just seamless. Like you switch Michael Massey, you put him up in 5th, you move MJ Melendez down to 7th, and you still have the left right. And you can still move the outfield around. It is very disappointing to see the fact that like all the outfielders are batting in the bottom of the lineup.
Yeah,
like that's not what you want at all.
That's what that was one of the things I noticed when I was writing the preview yesterday is like, yeah, the outfielders are supposed to be able to hit. Like the corner outfielders, that is typically a position that you say, give me a guy who can hit and I'll worry about his glove later. And the Royals have guys out there who don't really have gloves and also aren't hitting.
Yeah.
Now, again, streakiness applies. Velasquez, Melendez, Renfroe are all going to go on hot streaks. It's been pointed out to me by many people when I wrote my article yesterday talking about how the Royals, I think, have done a tremendous job identifying pitching talent and bringing that in. They need to do a better job of identifying hitting talent because the 3 hitters they brought in the offseason, Renfroe, Hampson, and Frazier are the 3 worst hitters on this team by WRC plus. And it's not even close, not even remotely close. We could talk about how bad Melendez and Velasquez have been, but at least they did have hot streaks. So their WRC pluses are in like the 80s. Those 3 guys are in the 40s. Like that's not close, y'all.
No.
So that's a concern for me. But also it's been pointed out to me that Hunter Renfroe usually starts slow. He gets hotter as the weather does. So maybe it is too early to give up on him. Maybe he will bounce back a little bit. He's probably at least got a couple of hot streaks in him this year, which will help this team out. I still don't like the signing. I think it was a bad signing. I've said that from the moment they made the signing. The only way it made sense to me was if you thought you were going to trade MJ Melendez for a starting pitcher. Which I really think they wish they had one more of those right now, given the injury to Alec Marsh and the ineffectiveness of Michael Wacha. But which leads to today they're starting Daniel Lynch IV, which is not. I mean, they wanted to start him, but they wanted him to be pitching better than he has. So that's a whole separate thing. Back to the offense. Yes, it's been good to have some flexibility, and it's been good to see Q exercise that flexibility. I know a lot of people take issue with his in-game decision making, but I'm actually want to kind of argue the same point I made about the bullpen last year. When your lineup, you've got 4 or 5 hitters who are awful. There are no right buttons to push as far as pinch hitting, not pinch hitting, pinch running, not pinch running. Your team is bad. So, like, people were mad last night, for example, because he pinch hit Garrett Hampson for MJ Melendez because the left-handed reliever was in there. Garrett Hampson, not the guy you want to pinch hit. And people were mad because, well, MJ Melendez could run into one, but he hasn't been running into one. So Matt Quattro's out there like, I got to push buttons. I got to do something. I can't sit on my hands over here. And I got to tell you what, Garrett Hampson did come up with an RBI single later in the game, drove in Michael Massey after his double. Does MJ Melendez do that in that situation? I don't know. Maybe not. But it didn't. Everyone's like, well, what about the next time he comes up in the order? Well, it didn't hurt them the next time.
Yeah, that's very true. I will say that surprisingly, MJ Melendez has been effective against lefties.
Okay.
So far this year, his batting average against in the platoon splits, his batting average is actually much better than against lefties.
He's got to have a lot fewer at bats, though, right?
Yeah, he has 18 plate appearances against lefties versus 89 against right-handed pitchers.
Whenever I see those stats, the first thing I always wonder is like, does he have 3 at bats against lefties? Because it might be a small sample size issue.
Yeah, very, very, very small sample size. But yeah, you're like there's just some things that you have to rely on traditional baseball, not rules, but knowledge. And like that lefty righty matchup is important. And what is more likely to happen? So I get it. I'm not a huge Garrett Hampson fan either, but I mean, come on, like you said, that's the button that Q has to push. He has to push it.
Yeah, and you can go, well, what happens the next time he comes up in the lineup? And my answer is, what happens now matters no more, because we don't know what the situation will be the next time he comes up. Maybe he's leading off an inning, and hey, a guy who can bunt with a little bit of speed, who maybe gets on base for you, might be better than the guy who strikes out 40% of the time in that situation. You don't know, so you kind of got to take what you can get now.
Yep. And so let's talk about what we can get now, because there's going to be folks, and I don't think they're necessarily wrong to talk about like, oh, well, this team should evaluate moving on from guys like Adam Frazier and Hunter Renfroe. Frankly, we're less than 40 games into the season. I don't think that the Royals are going to move on from from a higher money free agent acquisition this early on in the season. But I do want to talk about some of the things that the Royals can do right now, because you have guys like Drew Waters and Nick Lofton who are performing well at AAA Omaha. And those are guys that we saw a lot of MLB action from last year. And it's like, okay, what else do they have to do? And sometimes it's not what they have to do. It's the powers that be saying, okay, we're going to give you that chance. You better produce. It's time to do it. Jeremy, if there's one person on the bottom of this roster that you can option down to AAA Omaha, is there anyone that comes to mind, and who would you swap them out with?
I mean, the only person they can really option at this point, I guess they could option Melendez.
They could.
I don't think they're going to. My gut instinct, and I know this is counter to the situation you just proposed. My gut instinct is cut Renfroe, cut Frazier, bring up Waters, bring up Lofton. Forgot his name for a second there. That's what I would do. Is it probably a little premature? Maybe. I know I said I was ready to cut Renfroe even last week, but with the realization that he is a cold starter, like, I might give him a couple more weeks, see what happens. Frazier, to me, is gone. He has no place on this roster. He never had a place on this roster. And Nick Lofton is tearing it up at AAA.
Yeah.
And he gives you a right-handed bat, which you don't otherwise. Otherwise, your best right-handed pinch-hitting option is Garrett Hampson.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And I don't, like, I get it, when Massey was on the IL, it looked like a perfect move. Like, oh, well, now we have two lefty middle infielders to bat. Well, now you have that problem. We haven't seen Adam Frazier this series at all. We don't have the Sunday lineup, so I could sound very, very silly and say, oh, well, we haven't seen him for a few games.
He might play the outfield. He's not playing second base. Michael Massey's one of your hottest hitters. He's in the lineup today.
Yep. Oh, so I'm kind of right there with you. The only person I can think of that they option down is one of Nelson Velasquez or MJ Melendez.
Can they option Velasquez down?
I thought he had an option remaining. Let me pull it up.
I could be wrong.
He does have one option remaining.
Okay.
So if you look at the Major League roster right now, the only players who are not optionable are Salvi, of course, Hunter Renfroe, Adam Frazier, and Garrett Hampson.
The guys you wanted to demote. Yeah,
exactly. Three of the four guys you wanted to demote.
Honestly, if you're not ready to give up on Renfroe, demoting Melendez or Velasquez and giving Waters a shot does make a certain kind of sense.
I think it does.
Like, especially Melendez, I feel like he might truly benefit if you take some pressure off of him and let hit, because he had those two hard hit line drives in that one game last week.
Yeah.
Where I was like, oh, he's ready. He's coming. But I do watch his body language, and I do think he's pressing. I think he's like, I've got to hit. And it's not coming for him. And if you take some pressure off of him, maybe he finds that groove.
Maybe so.
But
I think, like, that's why Quatrero moved him down in the lineup. Yeah. So we will let's see here. I'm sorry. I'm looking at Fangraphs roster resource to see the projected lineup for today. So give me one moment. And they project that MJ is going to get the day off today, but we'll see if that actually happens. So I don't like this option, but I think it is an option that they need to evaluate. Dairon Blanco has not been getting much work past the past few games. I get it. He's your elite speed guy, and he's the guy that can play all the outfield positions. But if you already have that redundancy on the bench. You have Garrett Hampson, who's another righty who has speed. I'm not saying it's good as Blanco's, who has speed and can play all the outfield positions. And Blanco has 3 options remaining. So would it make more sense to look to one of Drew Waters or Nick Lofton and option down Dairon Blanco? What do you think about that?
The thing about promoting, especially Waters, and demoting Blanco is that if Waters is in the big leagues, he needs to be starting more often than not. Otherwise, you're looking at a guy who still is very young and has potential as a big league starter, which Dairon Blanco, I'm sorry, does not. I love him. He's not a big league starter. Never will be. He's 31 years old, y'all. Come on.
Yeah.
But so if you demote Dairon Blanco, who, again, as you said, is not getting a lot of playing time, and you promote Waters, well, is he going to get the playing time he needs? And if he is, then why not demote one of the guy he's going to be replacing in the lineup? Well, and then let Blanco keep being on your bench.
Well, so in my mind, let's say Blanco gets demoted, Waters gets promoted. That at least gives Cotrero an option to bench Hunter Renfroe. So you put down Hunter Renfroe. You
have that option.
Well,
he's shown that he has that option. He's benched him for Adam Frazier. He's not afraid to bench him.
I just want another option. I just want another player out. I don't want to see one or both of them in the lineup almost every single game. And I get it. That's why you have 9 spots in the lineup and it's not just your top 3 or something like that. But I mean, it's brutal watching them right now. It really is.
I'm just gonna say again that I think the thing that makes the most sense if you want Waters up is to demote one of Velasquez or Melendez, because he's going to be taking playing time from them anyway. And then you continue. I mean, you could still bench Renfroe in that situation. You've got Water. You'll put Waters in the outfield. You'll put Melendez in the outfield. And honestly, right now, I might be tempted to play Salvador Perez at first base a lot. He had the back tightness issue. Mm-hmm. And Fermin has been hitting a little bit better than Velasquez, Melendez, Renfroe. So I don't mind having him in the starting lineup every day right now. Does that give you kind of an awkward situation? Well, the thing is that starting Salvador Perez at first base means that if Fermin gets hurt, Salvi can just move over to catcher and you don't even lose your designated hitter spot.
Exactly.
And Pasquantino can be your designated hitter. And then you put Waters in one outfield spot, and then you put Melendez, Velasquez, whichever one of those you want out there. And if you're like, well, now Fermin needs a day off, okay, well, Renfroe can have a day in the lineup.
Yeah. And like that seems like a sensible solution to this. I am hoping that, it seems like the Royals usually, or historically, they make a lot of transactions early on in the week. Like Monday, Tuesday is kind of the time where they will shake up the roster if need be. So I am hoping that before this Brewers series starts.
Do they have tomorrow off?
No, they don't have tomorrow off. Okay. They're rolling right.
They like to do it on off days too.
That's true, but their next off day is until the 16th.
That's probably too long.
Yeah, it's
too
long.
Want to make a move before then, unless Velasquez and Melendez and Renfroe all start today and all just go like 3 for 4.
They all just go bananas. I
also do want to say, I think we might be under under appreciating Hunter Renfroe just a tiny bit. I gotta pull up his stats. He had the home run Friday night. He had an RBI single last night.
Yeah,
that's true. Is he on the verge of being hot? Is he the guy you can count on? I think that of the three, NJ Melendez has been the worst recently.
Yes.
So I make my case one more time, because I haven't made it enough times, to demote him and bring Waters up. If that's the move, if you think Waters needs to be up, I think that might be the move. Let me pull up the game log for Renfroe. I just want to see what he's been doing over the last week.
And I do want to stress this about Drew Waters. This isn't just seeing the age, the power potential, the versatility. No, I'm ignoring all that. I am looking at what this guy is doing in AAA Omaha, and you want to reward that. A 145 WRC plus is absolutely insane across an entire season.
Let me throw this slash line at you, okay?
Okay, I'm ready.
188, 316, 375. So that is a tiny, it's almost 700 OBP.
OBS?
315 WOBA, 100 WRC plus. Is that a good line? No.
Is it average?
That's Hunter Renfroe over the last week.
It is average.
Is it a better line than we're getting from Velasquez and Melendez? I think it probably is.
I know it is from MJ Melendez, because this slide has been brutal.
Yeah, he's actually, Renfroe was walking as much as he struck out. I didn't realize that. That actually makes me think he's on the verge of a breakout. And then you add in the home run Friday night, you add in the RBI single last night, and he's had has some hard hit balls over the last week too, a couple over 100.
He does.
Is Hunter Renfroe about to break out? I'm gonna go out here, because you know me, I like to make predictions that they've been coming true more often than not this year.
Yeah,
I want to throw that out there. I even said Daniel Lynch probably tomorrow's starter, and lo and behold, Daniel Lynch is today's starter. Mm-hmm. Hunter Renfroe's about to break out. Don't bench him. Play him. Let's go.
All right, we'll see what happens on Sunday, and so truthfully, Jeremy, I'm gonna drop this episode right after we get done. I'm not gonna wait to post this on Monday.
Do it.
But yeah, like we said, Daniel Lynch the fourth is gonna be making his 2024 debut today. We haven't had a corresponding move. I don't know who's going down. I think that's
two games in a row.
The move.
2 innings last night. He didn't pitch well.
No,
he's going down.
He didn't. And my hypotheses did not work out in any way, shape, or form in Matt Sauer.
Matt Sauer. I think Matt Sauer was an option, because you know how Matt Quatraro likes to play. He likes to see who pitches the night before. Yeah. I think Matt Sauer was an option to start today. I don't think you were that far off. I think that the lack of length from Michael Wacha and his start led to, I got to pitch him tonight, and I'll call up Daniel Lynch tomorrow. And then, of course, he pitched very poorly last night, unfortunately.
He really did, and I talked about it in one of my trends articles for Kings of Kaufman, talking about, hey, Matt Sauer he has a low ERA, things like that, but some of the peripherals are just not looking very strong, and unfortunately, we saw that last night against the Rangers.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's going to be a Brad Keller or a Joaquin Soria this year. He is going to be a guy who's a little overmatched. I don't remember whose tweet I was reading this morning, so I'm sorry whoever wrote this tweet, but the basic idea behind the tweet was that he still has a lot of upside as a starter in the future. He is clearly not really ready to be pitching in the big leagues this year, but you either keep him on the big league roster or you give him back.
Yep.
So I do think, especially with Jordan Lyles on the inactive list, you have room for the one pitcher who just doesn't pitch in high leverage situations, who just tries to give you a couple of innings when things are completely out of hand one way or the other. And I think Matt Sauer can work as that guy. I hope it doesn't, kind of screw up his development to do that. But I think that is really the only path forward for him. I think he kind of blew last night any real opportunity he's going to have, at least for a while, to start getting into higher leverage situations or a starting opportunity.
Yep. But we will, they're going to have to figure out this solution next go around. If Alec Marsh is not ready, he will be making a rehab appearance for the Omaha Storm Chasers. You think he'll be ready, good to go?
Yeah.
All right. Let's hope so we don't have to play this game anymore.
One thing that we have not discussed enough, Jacob, is that there are reinforcements coming for this rotation that we have not talked about. We've talked about how nobody in the minors has pitched particularly well, at least to AAA, other than Jonathan Bolin.
Don't you say it. Don't you say it, Jeremy.
Chris Bubich is coming, Jacob.
Stop!
Chris Bubich is coming!
Jeremy, Chris Bubich is not coming for a while.
But they just got to hang on until he can get here. It's like when Gandalf showed up at Helm's Deep. It's like, man, things look dark. You just got to hang on a little bit longer, guys. The dawn of the third day is coming.
Thank you for the reminder, Jeremy, because you are absolutely right. Chris Bubich should be coming sooner rather than later.
I don't think he's even started his rehab yet.
He has not.
But once he does, he'll probably take that full month to rehab because he hasn't pitched in a year. But then all bets are off. Michael Wacha, you could be in the bullpen.
Ooh.
Okay? Brady Singer pitched. He pitched really well Friday night. I got to give him props for that. After I said that, oh guys, I don't know. He pitched pretty good. So maybe he's not the guy that goes to the bullpen. Maybe it's Michael Wacha. Maybe that's one prediction I screwed up. I don't know.
I know folks like I remember one of the reviews a while back said, "Oh, these guys rely on numbers too much." Well, one of my favorite numbers, if you pull up Michael Wacha's Baseball Savant page, his off-speed pitch value is in the 99th percentile. Like he is one of the best with off-speed pitches.
He is. Okay, Michael Wacha, we got to talk about him for a second. I'm sorry. I don't think he was on the agenda, but we keep talking about him. We keep dancing around him. We got to talk about this. His FIP went down last night. His season FIP went down. He had a 2-something FIP last night because he just keeps giving up hits. He's not giving up a ton of walks. He's not giving up no walks, but he's not giving up a ton of them. He's only given up a couple home runs, 2-3 home runs over this stretch.
Yeah.
But he gives up hits, all the hits. Everybody gets hits. Some of them are weak hits. Some of them are hard hits, but some of them are weak hits. It's entirely possible he's just having kind of a little unlucky stretch because we have also been impressed with his changeup and with some of his. He has looked really good at times. So I actually, when I wrote my article about him last week about the rotation and are they lucky, I said I think he might actually have been a little bit unlucky based on his LOB and based on his FIP. He might be a guy that you could actually expect to pitch better than he's been pitching. That didn't work out last night, but I know I literally just said maybe he's going to the bullpen because he's been bad, but he can turn things around like that, and it wouldn't surprise me either.
He can. I mean, we were all singing his praises after the first 2 starts of the year because he looked like a great pitcher to start off the year. Michael Wacha, if you don't turn it around for any reason, listen to this reason alone. There's a writer at Royals Review who, when you pick the Of the Year awards, said Michael Wacha will be the Royals Pitcher of the Year. All right? If you don't do it for anyone, do it for me. Do it for me, Michael. I have faith in you.
He has a 5.5 ERA.
Yeah, pretty ugly.
3.84 FIP.
What?
He had a 3.89 FIP last year. And, I mean, looking at some of these numbers, they're remarkably similar. The K per 9, he had a 7.41 this year, 8.31 last year, 2.88 walks last year. All these numbers now that we just talked about how people say we rely on numbers too much. I'm not even a numbers guy. The strikeout to walk ratios are very similar. The home run ratio, very similar. You know what's drastically different?
BABIP.
The BABIP, 266 BABIP last year, 350 this year. Let me look at the batted balls to see if he's given up a lot more hard hit.
Yeah. Let's look at that real quick.
Nope. No, he's giving up fewer hard hit balls this year than last year.
Really?
He's unlucky. He's going to bounce back.
What about his line drive? What about his line drive percentage?
Line drive percentage. That's a great question. Line drive percentage is 3% higher this year.
Okay. But like that's not
his ground ball percentage also 3% higher. His fly ball percentage 6% lower.
Huh. That is very, very strange.
Very similar numbers. Very similar numbers to what he was doing last year, but suddenly all those hits are dropping. And I think that's not going to continue.
No, I don't think so. But he just we've said it before on this podcast. 1/3 of the time, pitchers are going to have all their stuff. The other third, they're going to have half their stuff. The other third, they're going to have none of their stuff. And the changeup still looked really strong against the Rangers. It really did. It was his fastball that was getting him in trouble. And the point that I was going with that baseball savant page is his off speed is 99th percentile. His fastball is in the 1 percentile. Like it is just there's no middle ground right there. And people are just sitting on waiting on him to mess up with the fastball or leave a hanging changeup. And that's what got him in trouble last night. So I'm hoping he can flip it around.
Phipps thinks he's going to pitch to a 4.39 ERA for the rest of the year.
Okay.
Which isn't great, but is workable, certainly.
For your number 4 guy in the rotation, that's fine.
Yeah, or even number 5. Alec Marsh has been so good.
Yeah, true.
And I think his BABIP will come down to 295.
Okay.
And his strikeout and walk ratio will falter a little bit, but not. It does think his home runs are going to go up to another half home run per 9 innings.
Huh.
I don't know about that because his home runs per 9 haven't been terrible in the past few years. I don't know. He's bouncing. This is the takeaway. This is the TLDR. Michael Wacha gonna be better than he has been.
Hunter Renfroe gonna be better than he has been. Or are you gonna say that too, Jeremy?
He's gonna go on a hot streak.
Okay.
Will he actually be better? I don't know. Will he be on a hot streak for a little while? Yes.
All right, we'll see what happens. If you
those are my bold predictions. Sunday, bold prediction.
I like it. Maybe we should make that maybe we should make it a segment. Get a whole little audio production on it. Oh, all right. Listen, Jeremy, let's go ahead and wrap this up. We'll get to our Spotify Q&As and then our reviews. How's that sound?
You know, we still haven't talked about Salvador Perez. We said before this. I said last week we need to talk about him more. We said before we started today we need to talk about him more. We still didn't talk about him more.
Okay, well let's spend a few minutes
Salvador
and
Perez,
talk about him.
MVP level play, y'all. And you said before the start, he's been kind of on a cold streak. But again, he had like a 30-game on base streak that finally ended last night.
He had a 22 game on base streak.
22. Okay, it's not as good as I thought it was, but still, he had the 3-run home run that really broke apart that game.
The Friday night game.
Friday night. I don't know where 5 is coming from. He has 1.7 FWAR already this year.
That's crazy.
If his season ended right this moment, that would already be one of his better seasons. He has a 174 WRC plus.
Wow.
His OPS finally dropped down below 1,000. The dude is just the power. The thing that I can't get over is he's got his old man power, his power that showed up in his 30s. But he's striking out like Kid Perez. I think we did talk about that last week.
We did.
But he's striking out like young man Salvador Perez, but he's got his old man power.
That old man power always wins. That old man power always wins.
This is a deadly combination right now.
It is.
His swinging strike percentage is way down from last year. It's dropped it. He dropped it from 17. It's been going up every year since 2017. He dropped it to almost half.
Wow.
It was.
Holy smokes, dude.
It was 17 last year. It's 10.4 this year.
So let me throw some more numbers at you. So
Yeah.
I put this out there on May 2nd, so the stats might be a little dated, but it still stands true. I said that if the season ended today, Salvador Perez would have a Hall of Fame worthy season at the plate. Not an MVP season, a Hall of Fame one. At that time, he had a 355 batting average, 591 slugging, all that together for a 1.009 OPS. There have only been 3 MLB Hall of Fame catchers with a season of an OPS above 1,000 and a batting average above 350. 1997, Mike Piazza. 1936, Bill Dickey. And the one and only Joe Mauer from 2009. That's it. That is the list.
And Piazza and Mauer are Hall of Famers.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Bill Dickey's a Hall of Famer as well.
Oh, is he? All right. I didn't.
Yeah.
It's not a name I recognize. I'm sorry, Bill Dickey.
As you
You're
should be,
before
Jeremy.
my time.
Yeah.
I know I'm old, but I'm not that old.
Maybe we should go get old Bradford Lee. Maybe he has something for us on Bill Dickey.
Again, every time I say it, people every year tell me Salvador Perez is a Hall of Fame candidate, and every year I go, Royals Hall of Fame, and then Salvador Perez does this at his age 34 season. People are talking about across the street, how much longer can Travis Kelce play? He's 34. They're like, he's gonna retire soon, y'all. He's old. He's beat up. Salvador Perez plays catcher. He's also beat up.
Yeah.
If there's a position in baseball that gets beat up almost as much as a football player, it is catcher.
Mm-hmm. I really hope we see more of him at first base. He plays it competently.
He's not amazing over there, and he's been so much better defensively as catcher this year.
Yeah, he is.
That it's kind of a bummer, but also, like, I want him healthy. I want him in the lineup, and I kind of want Freddie Fermin in the lineup right this second.
Yeah.
Just absolutely phenomenal. The captain making me look like an idiot for saying, boy, I wish they traded him for a bag of balls. Just get something going here. Just make some kind of movement. Man, I look stupid for that one. I'm gonna look really smart when Michael Wacha bounces back, and when Hunter Renfroe goes in his hot streak. I'm gonna look so smart, but I look really dumb for my Salvador Perez take.
Hey, we all have our wins and losses. That's why we have to celebrate them. But thank you, Jeremy, for reminding me about Salvador Perez, because
If
we
you
take
are
him for
not
granted.
enjoying this Salvador Perez performance, you are missing out.
Yes, agreed. So moving on to our Spotify Q&A responses. If y'all are unaware, if you're listening to us elsewhere, you can go check us out on Spotify, where you can respond to our polls and our Q&As, and we read your responses in the following episode. So in the last full-length episode, I asked y'all, we are 20% done with the 2024 season. Who is the most undervalued reason behind this start? Yeah,
I like that question. I'm interested.
It is. It's one of my.
I'm not even sure my answer is.
It's one of my first good questions, Jeremy. I will say that.
You've had some good ones. This is a particularly good one, though.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Moving down the line, Fistifer, the one and only, says Matt Quatrero is making smart decisions. Jeremy, you talked about that earlier on.
I like that.
Friend of the podcast, Lux, says Alec Marsh, R.I.P.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yep. I like that one too.
Aaron Bailey says defense has been very solid, and Salvi's framing improvement has to be one reason for the pitching being so much better. Yeah, that's.
I think
we
it
don't
was
talk about it enough.
Lesky had a newsletter. If y'all aren't subscribed to Lesky, you're also missing out. Yeah. I know he's put it on a paywall. It's not that expensive, and he writes some really good stuff over there. But I think it was him that had an article talking about how Salvador Perez has changed how he's receiving the ball, and really, you can see why it's improved the framing. It's an intentional change and an intentional fix that's improved
exactly.
things.
Steve says Freddie Fermin, 10-6 in games he's appeared in. More importantly, he's allowed Salvi to play more DH in first base, keeping him fresh and healthy without the team losing anything behind the plate. So there you go, Jeremy. There's your Freddie Fermin.
That is an answer. Sure. Yeah. Not my favorite answer of the group. I'm sorry. I love you. It's not a bad answer.
It's not. It's not at all. Dylan says the coaching staff. Obviously, the players made the plays and go out and win the games, but I feel like the coaching staff has this team believing they are winners. And I think that was, I know the whole Bally Sports thing in Comcast, it's put a sour taste in the mouth. The product that is actually in the post-game and pre-game for Bally's, still very good. And I saw that snippet from Alex Gordon talking about like the inner feeling in the clubhouse in the 2013 and 2014 Royals, and he says like he sees that in the 2024 Royals. So very hopeful there. But yeah, this team believes in themselves. That's good.
As they should.
Yeah, they should. They're doing great things. Corey Michael says that the offense is incredibly streaky and we're still winning. April Blues, ? Also, Salvi is cementing his Hall of Fame case. All right, thank you, Corey, for read my notes. Jeez. Or maybe I read Corey's notes. He did say that 3 days ago. And then finally, Royal Rupert says the General, James MacArthur, he is the real deal. He really is. He really is.
I think... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, people, we commonly talk about like how he bounced back from his Royals debut, and he did. But he bounced back from even some of his early season performances this year because he was not looking very good.
Well, he was a closer pitching in non-closing situations.
Well, you had to give it up to the veteran closer, Will Smith.
Yeah.
Who's also been okay lately.
Yeah. I mean, he had a scoreless inning last night, no strikeouts, which is... If you're a reliever and you don't strike out one guy, I'm like, I don't think that was it, buddy.
We're gonna call him Old Man Wilver instead of
Old Man Wilver. All right, I'm down. Let's do it.
Old Man Wilver. He puts the ball in play.
I do want to say I think my favorite answer of that group was Matt Quatraro. I think Matt Quatraro has done a tremendous job managing this team this year. He took a lot of heat last year because the team was bad.
Yep.
And people wanted to criticize his moves instead of the fact that the team had no talent. Not his fault. He's done almost. I could also quibble with some of his in-game management decisions, but I also think that there's a reasonable argument to be made for most of those choices. Like, do I like pinch hitting Garrett Hampson for Jay Melendez? I know I defended it earlier. The answer is no. I don't like that decision. There is a defense for it. Is my thing, and I think his lineup construction, his bullpen usage has been fantastic.
Yeah, it really has for the most part. So I know that players' performances usually won't last the entire season. Some of these players are going to get hot and cold, but I truly do think that the coaching staff and Quatraro, I think that their performances can stay at this level, and that's going to help this team in the long run. So very much looking forward to that. Also, really underrated in the challenges department. Like he has, we saw that with the Blue Jays series. Like their manager was, and the Orioles, they were both going for it, and that's not a borderline call. Like he is out or he is safe, and Quatraro has been very. What is it? Successful.
Bill Duplessis.
That's a hell of a last name.
Huh?
That is a hell of a last name, man.
Yeah, he's the review guy.
Oh,
the
okay.
review guy. So you gotta give him some props there too. But yeah, the Orioles and Blue Jays throwing away challenges in the second inning on plays that they lose. And the Royals won. Didn't they win like 3 challenges the other day?
Yeah, they did.
Against the Tigers, I think it was.
Yeah, it was 3. I do recall that. I cannot remember the opponent to save my life, though.
Crazy.
Hey, it is a Sunday morning, so let's go ahead and do our reviews and get on out of here, okay?
Yeah.
All right. I will. I'll go and start us off tonight, or tonight, as the sun is shining in my face. Today, I want to tell you all about a website called Good Pods. So I found Good Pods when I was trying to diversify some of my podcast listening. It's pretty easy to find podcasts to listen around the Kansas City sports scene. You have the normal people, and plus you have some small time creators that do good products, but I wanted to find more broad topics, things that would be outside of my algorithm. So I went to Good Pods. And what they have is they have different topics. So it's like the best podcast for talking about nostalgia, or the best podcast for Web3 marketers. Like, it's very specific topics that you don't think about. Listen, I'm not listening to the Web3 marketers, Jeremy. I will say that.
Hey, Jacob, that makes me feel a little bit better. Thank you.
Well, okay, do you want a very specific topic?
Yeah.
The best podcast for performing arts, current affairs, and entertainment in Uganda. Okay? Like, it is very, very niche, very, very niche things.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, the website Goodreads? Yeah, sorry. My honey just said it in the background. It's basically Goodreads for podcasts.
Okay.
So if you're trying to... I'm sorry?
Are we on there, Jacob? Are we the best pod or something?
I'll see in a moment. I'll get you an answer. But yeah, if you want
Best Royals podcast, I'm just saying, y'all. We need more 5-star reviews or something. Whatever they do.
Which I do want to say this. In the past week, we got 3 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts.
Y'all are awesome. I love you, all 3 of you.
We really love y'all, and we appreciate it. I
love everybody who listens, regardless of what star ratings you've given us.
Which we are on Good Pods, so you can
yes, we're a good pod.
Yay. But yeah, go check out the website and find a new podcast to listen to, or just keep listening to us. You can't go wrong either way. Jeremy, on to you.
All right, so I'm gonna do something a little bit weird. All right, you ready for this? A few weeks ago, we had Max Reaper on the podcast at the Durham Royals Review. He's terrific. He reviewed for us For All Mankind, sci-fi show over on Apple TV. I started watching it because of his review.
What'd you think?
I finished the first 2 seasons. Man, this show drags me in like little that I've watched lately. It is fantastic.
Really?
It's a really good show. It also bums me the heck out sometimes. Because it's just like it's got some real world politics stuff in it, and I'm always just like, oh no, not the Cold War. I would like people to all be happy now, please. Everybody have some peace. Can we have some peace?
He said not the Cold War.
So it's really good. And the other thing that I found really interesting is that, and I don't remember if Max talked about this, but each season kind of takes place in a decade. The first season is split over the 60s and 70s, but then the second season's in the 80s. It looks like the third season is going to be the 90s. So I assume the fourth season is the 2000s. The fifth season is the teens, the 20 teens. And what's really interesting to me about that is I hate time jumps like that. And these time jumps have been good. I love the period hair and costuming has been on point. It's not been a caricature, but it has been like, oh yeah, I recognize that as being from that era.
All right.
And that's a thing that like you're like, what does that matter? And it's a small thing, but it is a thing that helps get you invested. The characters are absolutely phenomenal. The only bummer is that sometimes when you're dealing with a science fiction piece, this is the Cold War, they're going into space, people die. Yeah. And I don't want people to die. It's a bummer for me. So I'm just like, I'm a little depressed sometimes. There was a couple characters that died in an episode recently, and I haven't watched it since because I'm just a little bummed. I'll probably go back to it because it's a really good show. I just want to throw that out there. It's a really good show. Also, go play Marvel's Midnight Suns. Go play Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. Go play Like a Dragon. Yakuza Like a Dragon.
As always, we gotta get those plugs in. And Jeremy, Honey did agree with your sentiments about it being a good show, but you have to take breaks from it. Yeah. She said she was the same way with Sons of Anarchy.
That's one I've refused to watch because I can just tell it would bum me out so much.
Wow. Okay. Well, don't listen to the end of this podcast if you want spoilers for Sons of Anarchy, because Honey's just yelling. Honey's just yelling them out there.
By the way, Darth Vader, he's Luke Skywalker's father.
What?
Yesterday was May the 4th.
Yes.
So May the 4th be with you.
Well, now it's May 5th. So
it's Revenge of the 5th.
Yep, exactly. We gotta keep it going. Hey, but before we get on out of here, I do want to hammer one other thing home.
Yeah.
Jeremy and I, we at the end of the day, we're just two guys who like really enjoy chatting with each other, and we both just like Kansas City Royals baseball. And so that's what we talk about most of the time. I would say like 80% of the time we talk about the Royals on this podcast. 70-30 split. Is that what we're at right now? And we always want to grow our community. We know like there's plenty of other folks out there like us, and as easy as social media makes it to connect, it's also incredibly difficult to connect with people via social media. If you want to connect with us on social media, our links are down in the podcast description below. Jeremy, I just wanted to say, because one of our reviews that we got this week talks about, and this is a direct quote, I like that they respond to comments and questions and like comments on Twitter. Pages that don't even acknowledge comments or questions, I unsubscribe to them. Like that was in one of our 5-star reviews from this past week. So people do appreciate that, but we can't do that if y'all don't reach out to us. We're here to engage. We're here to talk.
That's why I'm here. Certainly, as I want to engage with other fans. I primarily engage with you, Jacob, obviously, because this is where we're recording. But when people want to reach out to me and they want to talk to me on Twitter, I want to talk to you too. Like I want to engage with you. I want to make new friends. I want to really have an opportunity to talk about this stuff. And there are some people out there. Fistifer is one of them who's reached out to us a bunch.
Yep.
There was another guy, Curtis Nelson, that we were talking to last night, talking about the rotation stuff. For today's starter. I love talking to y'all. Y'all are smart. Y'all are fun. Just keep bringing it. Keep coming to us. I love it.
Yep. And it just makes the whole process enjoyable. I know we're going to have our haters and detractors out there, but y'all who reach out and chat with us make it all worth it, in my opinion. Jeremy, anything else before we get on out of here?
Nope. Go
Royals. Play Marvel Midnight Suns. All right. Yeah. Alrighty, folks. Well, we are going to go ahead and get on out of here. Go get about our Sunday. Thank you very much for joining us. I am Jacob Milham. He is Jeremy Greco. And until next time, go Royals.